Am I not tasting death? If any of you are curious, death tastes like chicken. I'm kidding, of course. Totally kidding. It actually tastes like steak. But anyway, um, yes, I did have coffee too, by the way. I had someone ask me a very interesting question, and I love the question because I have a very interesting answer for this. What about when Jesus told his disciples that there were some standing here which shall not taste death till they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom? Could he have been telling you that you would live on this earth until he comes back? Just a thought. I love this question for several reasons, because there are some here who would not taste death, right? There are some. There's a line in the book of John where Peter points at John and says, "What of him?" And Joshua says, "If I want him to stay until I come, what's that to you? I'm talking to you." And from that point on, this is what it says right in the book of John. It says, from that point on, the disciples thought that John would not die, but that's not what it said. He said that if I want him to stay until I come, I'm talking to you. So the idea of this is it's a very interesting thing, and it's one that I personally have pondered. And let me once again say I have no idea what reincarnation is, so I don't know. I don't understand the mechanics of it. So there's many different theories on it, on what it is, and I think that it's a fascinating topic to explore. But this concept of shall not taste death until that time. I have been, because of all the 19 psychics telling me about the past life and then the regression, and I have been fascinated by this concept because I know that I was born. I have pictures of me as a baby, right? And I know, that at some point I'll probably pass from this experience. But in my question has always been, did it in the theory that reincarnation is one soul traveling, right? Because there's, like I said, there's many different forms of thought on reincarnation. If it was one soul traveling, is it that this one soul did not stay on the other side in between lives? Like literally went from bam, 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 staying in this plane for that length of time. So the reason I got really interested in this experience is because in my regression, they asked, well, what's the purpose of this life for John, for me? And the answer was to be a beacon, to be, and the word forerunner was used. And I find that really interesting because in the days of John of old was the forerunner. He would go to the town ahead and make arrangements. And so he was the one running before and getting things ready. And so to me, that's the idea of this. So John would go prepare and get things ready and find housing and lodging and food and benefactors. And so there was this. But in my regression, being the forerunner, and then it also said the beacon. So basically, a part of that vibration held in this physical plane, so that there would be a connection to that point. So it's kind of like an anchor. So the return, and I don't like to bring up the return as if it's the second coming. It's like a place of focus is the way I would more describe it. So in other words, if all realities are infinitely possible, having someone in one reality that has a homing beacon, you know which reality to go back to, which reality to manifest into. And so I've often wondered whether that was the case. And I guess it was 6, 7 years ago, I decided that I was going to go ahead and write my own story. There was a book written about me a long time ago by the first psychic who ever read me, and she has decided that even though we had an agreement that I would get half the money on that book, she's decided that I don't get anything off of that book, and so I don't necessarily promote that book. But if you're interested in it, it is on Amazon. It's called John of Old, John of New, The Awakening of the Apostle by Sharon Prince. And if you're interested in it, I don't dissuade you from buying it, but understand I get nothing off of that book. So so I had decided that I think it's that I was going to write my own story, and I was already in the process of beginning the ideas on the Recovering Catholic's Guide to Spirituality, which I'm deep in the throes of, right? And what's interesting is I decided, okay, the second book is going to be my story from my point of view, and I was looking for a title, and I was thinking, well, what if I just called it I, John, John, because it's John of Old, John of New, John, right? And so I hopped on Google, and I searched I, John, just to see if there was anything else out there, and I found a book, and there's been a couple books named I, John. I found a book that was actually an antique. Do I have it in here? Yeah, unfortunately, it's in the other room. But I got the book and I started reading it, and it was a fascinating book because it was about a guy whose name was John, who remembered being John the Beloved. He lived on the East Coast in New Jersey. He worked in the entertainment industry. And at one point during the book, he moved to Ohio. So it was like literally very close to my life, right? Because I lived in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, which was right across the Delaware Bay from New Jersey. So it was like the same region, over on those, the East Coast. And so there was this very similar story. And this book was written before I was born, and it was. Supposedly this person died just before I was born. So I often wonder whether the person in this story was the last incarnation of John. And then I go into the Edgar Casey writings where Edgar Casey literally says John the Beloved would again be named John. And I often wonder whether John has not only remained in the plane, but has come over and over again as John. And, and though I am John Davis, and I consider myself John Davis, I don't consider myself John the Beloved in any shape or form. I believe it doesn't matter who you were, it only matters who you are here in the present, because it's the only moment you're conscious. That doesn't mean that I don't have the memories and maybe carry something of that John of Old guy. But I find the whole concept fascinating, and I literally don't necessarily know how to truly answer your question other than to tell you that this is a quandary that I have had for a long time, and I have researched and will constantly have moments where I'll sit down and I'll dive online and I'll start searching some more to see if I can find other people with that kind of background. So I hope that answers your question, and that is my thoughts on it. It is something that I am investigating myself. So you guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. See you. Bye.
Thank you so much for watching. The John of New channel is solely funded by your generous donations and purchases of private readings and merchandise. To help out, go to johnofnew.com or use the donation link in the description below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.